Hey guys, welcome to the Dave Darren Show. Welcome to the Dave Darren Show, the most important show of my life and hopefully of your life. And hopefully you're listening tonight with an open mind where you're very interested in what Dave Darren has to say this evening. As you guys know, I've been a broadcaster on terrestrial radio for quite a long time. Tonight is my pilot for the new Dave Darren terrestrial radio show that's going to be airing on 1100 KFNX in Phoenix, Arizona. We do not have an air date yet or a showtime date. It's still in the art of the deal. If you remember Trump's book, The Art of the Deal, that's where we are right now. It's the art of the deal. I need to be a morning, afternoon, or drive time broadcaster because we need to bring back the conservative momentum of what Arizona used to be. Arizona used to be the strong point of conservatism in the United States, and it needs to be again, and it can be again. We need to make Arizona strong again, and we will do it. We will do it with me being the leader in terrestrial radio and local broadcasting. We see it all over the airwaves. We see the Rush Limbaugh show. We see the Sean Hannity show. Tucker Carlson. We see all of this, but there is no local station in Arizona that really has a focused conservative with a really strong viewpoint and a sense of urgency that Arizona needs. That's what the new show will be. So we're going to get to start the show tonight by me telling you about my day spent in Chandler, Arizona. You guys know that I walk around the city, and I walk around the city without a mask, representing the freedom of choice that America is still supposed to have, and the people that live in America as independents are supposed to have. Today I was in Chandler, Arizona. I went to one of the different malls that I haven't been to in quite a long time. I'm there, I'm expecting, without a mask, to have a lot of people approach me and say something to me, or store owners to say something. I'm expecting to have some level of conversation. To be honest, I had none. And here is the exact reason for that. A lot of people don't think of this reason, but here's the exact reason. Remember, Trump came on board and he said, the cure cannot be worse than the virus. The cure at this point has become a lot worse than the virus. We see it in the malls. I saw today in the mall the reason why I did not have a lot of people approach me as to the reason why I did not have a mask was specifically this. Our malls have been devastated. Our malls have been traumatized. The people that typically go to malls have been traumatized by being fearful of going outside and going outside where there may be that dangerous, diseased other person. We now see a population in the malls of 25%. Therefore, that is the reason why I was not approached, because of the lack of people in that mall. So a lot of people think, does Dave Darren have a lot of people walking up to him when he doesn't wear a mask? Does he have a lot of people walking up to him? You know what? I haven't had, in the entire time I've been broadcasting about the virus, I haven't had people walk around or approach me specifically because of that. Because of the fear perpetuated by liberal media, there have been a lack of people out there stirring up and revitalizing the economy because they're still traumatized. That is why I have not been approached. And by the way, I have said this before. Now, I'm going to repeat a lot of tonight, what I say tonight, to my audience that's used to me talking about this. The repetition may be a little bit tonight, and that is because tonight is my pilot for the new Dave Darren terrestrial radio show on 1100 AM KFNX, broadcast out of Phoenix. So I left that mall and I decided, okay, at this point I'm going to go shopping at a facility called Sprouts. It's one of our organic places where you can buy healthier food, organically grown, more health conscious perspective of shopping. So I'll go to the front door and I see something a little bit more unusual. I see at the front door, no mask, no entry. But I decide I'm still going to go in. I'm going to enter as I usually have done for the past months. I went in there and I entered the building. First thing, I'm approached by an employee. The employee comes up to me and says, you must wear a mask. And I tell him, he approaches me pretty aggressively. So I respond to him in the same manner. I say, if you're going to approach me, you need to approach me with a manager. So he walks away. Very quickly, a manager is right in front of me. Right in front of me, pretty aggressive, actually more aggressive than the employee was. He approaches me and he says, "You must wear a mask in the store." And I tell him, the first thing I tell him is, I have a health condition that is enabling me to be exclusive of that no mask, the mask mandate. And he does not listen to that perspective at all. He says, "You must wear a mask in the store." I show him my cell phone, which inside of my cell phone, I did not bring my cell phone. I brought an older, the flip type of cell phones. But I had it in my cell phone container. I always carry this. And I brought out the printed agenda, the proclamation from the governor's office, which says masks are required unless you have a condition, a health condition, which includes respiratory and lungs. I showed him that piece of paper printed out using the letterhead of the governor's office. He had no interest in looking at that whatsoever. He didn't look at it. He said, I don't have to look at it because the corporate mandate of Sprouts is masks are required, no exceptions whatsoever. Then I go through the whole perspective. I said, and by the way, I brought up today's conversation at the Sprouts supermarket, which is a grocery store, by the way. I was not shopping for the non-essentials. This was not shopping for the fancy shirts you see me wearing or watches or clothing in general. This was for our most essential products, our food products, the most essential products needed to secure life, to continue our life existence. The essential product is our food products. Therefore, I told him, I said, I am a senior citizen. I need these items. And he says, well, there's other ways of shopping here at Sprouts that can meet your needs so that you can get these essential products that you say you need. There's ways to do that. We have a web app. I told him, I showed him my flip phone. I said, I have an older phone here which does not allow me to install apps. I don't have the memory, I don't have the capability on this older cell phone of installing the app that you say I can utilize to shop at this facility outside of being here in person to shop for product. He then told me, he said, well, you have the ability to use the web. Again, I told him, well, I have an older cell phone. I don't have web access on this phone. Now remember, I am discussing this perspective to talk about the senior citizens who have been disenfranchised, vastly disenfranchised, and have been discriminated against by today's food shopping experience. The need for senior citizens as well as everyone else to shop for their essential food items at a Sprouts, which they don't sell anything else except for food items. I think they may sell flowers there, or that may be Albertsons, but that's irrelevant of today's discussion. I was told I can use the web app. I said I don't have a cell phone that can do that, and in fact, I, again representing, now you guys know I have a laptop and a desktop, I'm representing the senior citizen community that exists not only in Arizona, in other states as well. We have a very high constituency in Arizona because we have a lot of people that come here to escape the harsh winter weather, people that like sunshine, people that like our lower property taxes come to Arizona for those benefits. Therefore, we have a very high constituency of senior citizens in Arizona. So I'm representing them. I'm not necessarily representing me. I'm representing the community as a whole. So put that in this perspective, all right? So I'm there and I'm also telling him, I said, you know what? In my home, I also do not have a laptop or a desktop. There's a lot of reasons. I told the gentleman, I said, there's a lot. And by the way, after a while, he was not a gentleman at all. But I did tell him, I said, there's a lot of reasons why people of my senior citizen age and older do not have laptops or modern cell phones. We are scared of identity theft. We have no need to be on social media or the web. We have conducted business for a lot of years without these technology devices, all right? So I said that specifically. I told him, I said, if I ever need to use the web, the only way I can use it is to go to a public library. In Arizona, like a lot of states, our public library services are no longer there. We can download books from the library, but we cannot go into a library to use one of the things that makes it beneficial to senior citizens to go there, which is the web on their desktops. Libraries are all closed. I told the gentleman at Sprouts, I said, I have an older cell phone. I can't use the app to download the app to shop online as you're recommending for me to do, because I cannot be in this establishment without a mask. I told him I do not have the ability to use the web on my old flip phone because I do not have web activity on this old flip phone. I have no ability. In fact, if you want me to really draw a comparison to older people, my father actually has a flip phone. He has an older flip phone. He has a newer car, which he could actually start. If he had a new phone that had the app for the Lexus, he would be able to start his car from his cell phone. He is one of the people that I'm representing in my discussion at Sprouts today. I'm representing him and the older community as having a lack of technology, as a lot of senior citizens have a lack of technology for a lot of reasons. They just don't need it. They feel like they're fearful to use it because of identity theft, of violations to their security, of their home security. They're older people. They cannot be as actively defensive as they could when they were younger. So they take less risk. One of the less risks they take is the experience with newer products, which open them up to vulnerability of being compromised. So they don't do it. My parents don't do it. So I'm discussing with the gentleman at Sprouts. He's telling me the ways I can shop safely outside of the facility. To use a web app, I can't do it. Cell phone is a flip phone. Told him I can't have web access on my cell phone. I have no ability to get web access at home. I don't have a computer or a laptop. I can't go to a library because they're closed. He comes up with a whole nother series of things I could do. I could have a family member shop for me. A lot of people that come to Arizona to retire, they have moved from places like New Jersey, New York, Chicago. Their families are younger. They're still there. They're working. They have to survive in those environments. People that move here that are senior citizens, they've retired. They're not restricted to live in New Jersey, working in the business that they've been working in for years in New Jersey. They move to Arizona. They don't have to live in those states. They live here because they are now retired. They have moved away from their families who are still there in the East Coast. They are here isolated from their family members. They do not have the ability to grab a family member from 2,000 miles away to go and shop for them. So I told the gentleman that. He gave me another thing that I could do. He said, you can get a neighbor to shop for you. I told him, and this is valuable, and this is actually accurate. How many of you will go to your neighbors and ask them to shop for you when you clearly know that they have their own concerns? They've got their own husband, wife, children that they have to keep safe. They have to keep them secure. They have to worry about their health. Do they need to worry about their next door neighbor, me knocking on their door, asking them to help me out by shopping for me, when their concerns are a lot more important than them being concerned of their next door neighbor? I told them all of these things that I cannot do, which mandate me to be able to shop at this establishment because I have health issues, I have breathing issues, which you see that even when I do these type of broadcasts, have you ever noticed that periodically, now I do talk quickly and I talk a lot. Did you ever notice that periodically I do need to take an extra step away from talking to take that extra breath of air? Now, if you think about it logically, as I was asking the representative, the manager at Sprouts, to work with me on the logic behind this, I told him, I said, if a lot of people, as they are older, and I'm asking you guys to think about this perspective as well. When you're a young teenager, you had almost an infinite availability of energy. You had an infinite lung capacity. Your body was built for almost an infinite amount of exercise. I told you before, myself and my friend Joe, we could have jogged, I felt like, from Philadelphia to Los Angeles and back on continual breaths of air without a stop, except for water, however you want to pronounce it. But we, as young teenagers, had an abundance of energy because our bodies were young, youthful, healthy, effective, efficient. As we got older, as we approached 30 and 40, did you notice that your body was not able to do the things that you could do as a teenager? As you approach 50 and you approach 60, your body breaks down. No matter how healthy you keep your body, no matter how much you exercise, as I do to the extreme to keep myself healthy and youthful, I cannot do what I could do in my teens. Why? My body has broken down to a degree just based upon the ages that I've accumulated over the years. And part of my body definitely, absolutely includes the lungs. My lungs are less efficient. They are less effective. When you put a mask on your face, you then take the lungs, which are already impacted by your age, by your aging, and you're putting a shield between yourself, your lungs, and the outside air that your lungs are used to getting in that daily dosage of each breath. You are being deprived of the oxygen that oxygenates your blood supply, which makes you the vital human being that you are. So we are all compromised when we are compelled to take the laws of the states that we live in and comply with them. We are actually damaging our bodies by complying with the mask. And we see a lot of broadcasts which they talk about the mask and the ineffectiveness of the mask. Now you have people that are they're mandating you to wear these masks when there are doubts in our minds how effective the mask can be. Yet, if these shops believe that the masks are as effective as the CDC is telling them that they are, then you know what? Everyone that's wearing a mask, protecting themselves and the other people around them, the mask is protecting them while it is damaging you as the senior citizen that I'm representing today during my visit to Sprouts. And in fact, anyone that is of an older age, you are being impacted by the lack of vital air into your lungs. It's critical. It is a health perspective which we should not have to compensate for or give our freedoms away to these mandates. And it's funny that this is what is interesting as well. When I had the conversation at the supermarket, I was actually at one point, as I was bringing up all of this logical flow, and I was actually introducing all of these topics to that manager, I was told at that point that I must leave or the police will be called. Now, for all of you people that live in different states or live in Arizona or live specifically in Chandler, what I did is I left that store. I could have stayed there. I was not a coward. That's why I did not leave for that reason. I left because my wife was there, and you guys know I have a dog. We have a couple cats. I wasn't sure what the response would be if I stayed there for the police to come, all right? So I left the facility. I did ask the manager, I said, you know what? I would like for you to give me the phone number to Sprout so I can call up your corporate headquarters, because I was told that no matter what the governor's proclamation says, that the corporate ownership of Sprouts negates anything that the governor would say. They have their own rules that they are putting into place. So I left that establishment. I actually asked to have the police called so I could talk to them outside, but the manager just didn't do that. So I left, and then what I did is I did not drop it at that point. I did call up the Chandler police. And by the way, if you live in one of these states where you're mandated to wear a mask, learn what your rights are. Learn what the proclamations are by the governors or the mayors in the cities, the towns, or the state you live in. And I decided to learn a lot more about it by calling the Chandler Police Department. I called them up, and by the way, you'll hear the actual broadcast of that conversation probably tomorrow or throughout the weekend. I'll broadcast that as well. I called up as you can see, I need to take extra breaths. So it's actually is logical that as we get older, we do need the consumption of air without the blocking of the mask to withhold the air away from our bodies that we critically need. So I called up Chandler Police Department. By the way, I'm not taking any phone calls because this is my pilot for the terrestrial radio broadcast on KFNX 1100 AM. So I called up the Chandler Police to find out what could be done if a policeman was actually approaching the building. Obviously, it's not a smart thing to do. We've seen the broadcast of people in these places who do not want to pay with a credit card. They want to pay cash, and they shop for a lot of stuff in their shopping cart, and they throw the stuff around in the department store or the grocery store. If you do that, then obviously it's going to create a scene where people are going to be fearful of you, of the environment, and it's a scene that is going to bring the police there, and potentially at that point, probably you're going to get arrested. You can see the way I'm speaking to you guys now. This is the way I spoke to the Sprouts manager, exactly in this tonality, all right? So I'm there, so I called up the police and I told them exactly what happened. I told them, I said, I'm a senior citizen, I have an older phone, I don't have the ability to shop online, I don't have the ability to use the web at home, I don't have a computer or a laptop, I can't go to a library because, as you well know, in Chandler and all the surrounding Arizona cities, that all the libraries are closed down. I'm from the East Coast. I don't have members here of my family to shop for me. I'm not going to ask a neighbor to shop for me. I gave him the whole scenario. I said, suppose I stayed in that Sprouts supermarket, decided not to leave. I'm going to assume that the manager is not going to touch me. I'm assuming that they're fearful to actually make a physical confrontation with someone who's just being logically verbal to them without escalating the voice, without creating hostility, with my direct voice directed towards them alone. So I talked to the police officer. I said, what could have happened if I remained in that store? This is, by the way, you guys better learn this. If you want to take your America back by trying to be as free as you used to be, there's a certain amount of things that you have to learn, and you can learn them from me because I'm telling you now. So Chandler, I called him up. I said, what could have happened if I remained in that store? He said, well, if you were creating a scene in that store, which I'm assuming, talking to me, that you did not, and I'm going to take you to your word that you did not, and I did not. There was not a crowd gathered around me. There was not yelling and screaming or tantrums at that store. I projected myself just as I'm projecting myself to you, my audience, right now. He said the most that would have happened is if they wanted to press the issue, the most they could have done was cited you for trespassing. Now, I have no idea if that would have been trespassing in only that one store or extended to Sprouts across America. I have no idea if they extend beyond Arizona. I don't know. I don't know if it would have made it so I couldn't shop in Tempe, Phoenix, Gilbert, Chandler, which is the store I was in, Chandler, or other Chandler stores. I don't know if it would have been isolated to that one store or not, and I didn't ask the policeman that. But he said the most they could have done was cited you for trespassing, or which I would have had to written you up for trespassing, which would have prohibited you to go into that store. Again, I don't know if it would have been other Sprouts or just that specific store. I said, could they have done anything else? And he said, as long as you were as peaceful as you were, the most they could have done is had me cite you for trespassing. But the Chandler Police Department, again, look this up in your states that you live in or the cities that you live in, if you intend to take your freedoms back, as I intend to, starting off in Southwest Arizona on terrestrial radio, as I'm going to rejoin the terrestrial radio Drive to Freedom. That's what I'm going to be calling the show, is our Drive to Freedom, because I happen to be a person that can convince KFNX to put me on a drive time show. It's our Drive to Freedom. So the most they could have done was that. And I also asked them, I said, well, what would they have done what would you have done if you came outside of Sprouts? Because I left Sprouts not to create an escalated scene. If I called you in front of Sprouts, what would have happened at that point? Police officer said I would have had you out there. I would have had the management of Sprouts out there, the manager you were having a discussion with. I would have told you what the governor's proclamation was, explained it to you, explained why the governor and the CDC wants you to wear a mask. I would have educated you. There would have been no fine. We are not authorized. We are not writing tickets for any of these violations. And he said that the most that we would have done is that, and that would have been it. However, I want to bring up another perspective to you after this. So stick with me. Do not leave this program tonight, because this is important for you guys to know. So I thank the policeman. Now, the policeman did say this, and this is also critical. This is extremely critical. The policeman said that in Arizona, Arizona businesses, they supersede the governor's mandates or the governor's proclamation. How come I can't say that word tonight? Or the governor's rules, which state masks required unless you have a health condition. Sprouts or any other business can have direction from their corporate office which supersedes that governor's mandate or proclamation. I said it correctly this time, finally. So that's what I was told. And you know what the ironic thing about that is, if you think about it? I was at Sprouts attempting to make purchases, paying for my purchases as a customer. If you remember, all of the cities across America, all of the businesses that have representation in your cities that were shut down because of the bombardment and the breaking in and the terrorists that the Black Lives Matter protests brought along with them, that extra baggage of terrorism and criminal activity, where they broke into these storefronts that did not pay for the product. Think of this ironic perspective. I was there in a store as a customer to purchase product and pay for them at the register, and they're telling me that their directive from corporate supersedes the governor's mandates and proclamation, where ironically and interestingly enough, those same storefronts and those same managers did not protect their business from the people stealing, looting, breaking in, and creating criminal activity, where I was there to shop as a customer. Isn't that ironic that they were defending themselves against me, but did not defend themselves against the criminal terrorist activity at their same storefronts? Isn't that ironic? I find that to be extremely ironic and extremely shocking. So I thank that police officer for informing me on all that stuff, and I hung up. Next thing I did is I called up the governor's office. Now, for all of you individuals who think the government has your back, they know what's best for you. They know that the masks are what's best for you. They know how to create safety in your lives. Here's me calling the governor's office. Listen to this. Listen to the end of it, where you have to realize that we employ those governors. We employ the mayors. How do we employ them? We vote for them. They are supposed to be responsive to us and responsible for us, responsible for the freedoms that we are still supposed to have as Americans. And check this out. I recorded it. I'm going to play it for you now. Check out the conversation. Check out the gap in the middle where I asked for a solution for senior citizens that are being disenfranchised and discriminated against because it's an older community, less technical savvy, less technically able to use these products, where we can't shop at the store physically on our own. We have health conditions which prevent us from wearing the mask. Check this out and check out what happens at the end of it. Should I give you a cliffhanger, or should I tell you that I was hung up on by the governor's office? The people that I hired hung up on me. Check this out, listen to it, absorb it, and understand why the government is not your friend. In fact, the government is now our enemy. Here we go.
Governor GC's office, how can I help you?
Yes, hopefully it can help me. I have a situation. I'm one of your larger base constituents. I'm in Arizona here. I'm a senior citizen. Okay, as a senior citizen, my cell phone I'm calling you from right now is a flip phone. I'm not trying to call you and sell your flip phones, by the way, so let me just continue on if you don't mind. Hopefully you can help me out and tell me what my solution is for this. And as a senior citizen, I happen to be one of the people that limits my amount of computers. Basically, I don't have a computer in my house. Anytime I need to use a computer, I go to a library. Libraries in Arizona are closed. I have one of the health conditions which according to the governor's layout or proclamation or whatever you call it, is supposed to allow people that have a health condition like I do as a senior citizen to be able to shop in establishments. Today I went to purchase groceries. I wasn't going out to buy shoes or watches or anything like that. I was out there to buy products that I need to survive, to be able to eat. Obviously in Arizona at 112 degrees, we don't have vegetable gardens in our backyard, so we need to eat. We need to go to grocery stores. I went in today to Sprouts without a mask because I can't wear a mask because of my health issues. I was at Sprouts in Chandler, Arizona. I was told, you can see I'm taking a deep breath now because I do have breathing issues. It's legitimately logical and honest. I went in there to shop. I was told I cannot shop. I must leave. I was told, well, how do I shop here? And he said, well, use the app and purchase product. I said, you can see the cell phone I have in my hand right now. It does not have app capability. It's an old cell phone, flip phone, where it's large numbers so I can actually utilize the phone. I can't do internet stuff on it. And I was told I better leave, otherwise they're going to call the police. So what do you guys do in Arizona for the large constituent base of senior citizens which have health issues, where we're not trying to buy shoes or wristwatches? We need to purchase groceries, and now we cannot go grocery shopping. How do you intend to keep us alive in Arizona?
Well, sir, the CDC guidance as well as the Arizona Department of Health Services guidance is stating that, wearing a face covering is better for everyone's health. So if that store chooses to implement and to follow those guidances and those mandates that have been put in place by the county, then that would be what's recommended for seniors who do have health conditions. And I understand maybe you can't wear one based on your own situation, but if that's what that particular store is requesting you do, then perhaps you could go shop at a different store.
And if I go to Albertsons, which I tried to do also today, I was told the same thing. So now do I have to go to every single store in Maricopa County to figure out which one or two stores I can shop in? And obviously, as a senior citizen now, we shouldn't be driving all around the entire state to find a grocery store that may be 10, 12 miles away.
You could also just briefly wear the face covering so that you can complete the grocery shopping.
Well, obviously, when we're senior citizens, we walk rather slowly. So when I go into a store, I cannot walk quickly to be in and out of there within a quick time period. I used to go to the shopping places where senior citizens would have an hour to shop so we can get our essentials, because when there was a shortage of toilet paper, we did that. So we took advantage of that. I took advantage of it as well. I do not have the quick walking capabilities like I used to, so I'm in there for a longer period of time wearing a mask, which I cannot wear. And there's been a proclamation which allows us to be able to shop in stores if we have a health issue. I've seen it on the news. I abide by those guidelines. I stay 6 feet away from people. I limit the amount of times I go shopping. I don't go shopping for anything except, you don't see me shopping for shirts or shoes, but I need to buy groceries. So what is our solution? I'm not the only one a lot of people come here as senior citizens, specifically because we're older. There's a lot of senior citizens in Arizona. What is our solution? You have disenfranchised. You have
stores.
There are not. Well, there may be, but now you're telling me that. Okay, so Dave, what you've got?
Stores would also probably offer to do like curbside pickup for your groceries too. So.
But how do I know what I mean?
I call them.
And then if there's a delivery service, I'm sure they charge you for the delivery service. And of course, a lot of senior citizens are on a fixed income, as I am. So we try to limit, especially in these times.
So then your other option would be to briefly wear a mask, or perhaps you could have someone else do your shopping.
Someone else did. No, hang on. A lot of people in Arizona, for instance, all of my family, every single one of my family members is in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. I am here alone. I can't bug my neighbors to shop for me.
Well, I understand, and we'll pass your concerns along to the government for you.
Okay, but you're saying, contact anyone else. If I contact a neighbor, by the way, my neighbors are having their own health issues, their own fears of COVID. I'm not going to ask them to go shopping for me.
You can also just go during the allotted time and wear a face covering.
I can't. How many times do I have to tell you I cannot? How many times I've told you now? 3 times I can't wear a mask. I cannot for medical.
Thanks for calling.
No, you're going to hang up on. So that's very extreme. No, you're hanging up on me. Correct? How about that? I was hung up on by the governor's office. Unbelievable. This is what our government is all about.
Okay, welcome back to the live portion of the show. Did you find that shocking? Did you find that offensive? We always hear the word offensive. Did you find that offensive? I found that to be shocking. I found the shock in the gap in there where I was asking about how to service a major part of your constituent base, which is the senior citizen. Did you notice that gap there? Did you notice the thought process or maybe the reading of a script from the CDC? And we already know that the president has now declared the CDC numbers to be inconsequential, where we're not going to discuss them any longer. We have doubts about the mask, the efficiency of the mask. You know what? If people think that the masks are that efficient and that effective, then by all means wear them to protect yourself, to protect me from being exposed to you. But when we have an older generation of senior citizens who are compromised with health issues that cannot wear a mask, why disenfranchise us? You are taking your rights and you're taking our rights away. And if you think about it, if you think about senior citizens, a lot of senior citizens, a lot of us have one pre-existing condition, and that is our inability to breathe as effectively and efficiently as we need to. We may not have heart conditions, we may not have cholesterol issues, but a lot of us have an inability to breathe as we used to. That is a condition that we are, according to the governor's proclamation in Arizona, we are able to utilize your establishment when we are compromised as such. Now, I will tell you, by the way, after that, I did call up a couple other people. I called up an attorney, and I actually called up Sprouts. Those broadcasts will be aired tomorrow night, so you'll get to hear them. Tonight, I wanted you guys to hear the governor's response, because he is the one that's put out these proclamations, and he is the one whose proclamations are not being followed by corporate America, which in Arizona goes and supersedes the governor's mandates. But the governor has control of the freedoms of the people that put him into office. They better enact the freedoms that the senior citizens need so they can survive and make purchases of their essential products. Nothing can be more essential than the food that we put into our bodies to be able to live successful lives and continued lives. Let me bring up how all of this happened. Some of this tonight, by the way, is a little bit repetitive for you guys that listen to the show a lot. Remember, tonight's broadcast is the pilot for the terrestrial radio broadcasting of the Dave Darren Show on 1100 AM, Phoenix, Arizona. So check it out. Date and time and day of the week to be determined based upon the art of the deal, the Trump book, where I'm going to go in and I'm going to tell them we need to create a strong Arizona, as strong as it used to be. Arizona used to be one of the most vibrant conservative states, a beacon to the entire country to look at Arizona for the conservative movement, which is actually slowed down to a trickle. And why is that? A lack of representation. Dave Darren will be the focal point of Arizona representation of the conservative viewpoint going forward from my first air date appearance on KFNX to represent you. And that includes you guys that are accustomed to my show from wherever you live. This is a show for you, the conservative movement, and the senior citizens, and everybody who wants, demands, requires, and wants to fight for their freedoms. How do we begin it? We begin it localized in places like the small Dave Darren Show, which needs to blossom, and it will in Arizona. Here's how all of this started from my perspective. We have had children. Now, for instance, I have not had a child. My parents had me. My parents are both still alive, by the way. They're 80 and 87. I brought this up to you guys before. It's a little bit repetitive to you, to our KFNX audience. It's not repetitive at all. It's probably pretty brand new to them. My parents, 80 and 87, had me at a young age. I'm 61. If I had a child at the age of 20, my child would be 41. If my child at 41 had a child when they were 20, that child would be 21. My parents would have had a child, me, a grandchild, and a great-grandchild. And all of us would be disenfranchised because of the close down and the shutdown of America, which I told you today when I was at the Chandler Mall. The reason why people were not approaching me with me not wearing a mask was because a 25% occupancy, 1/4 of the population in Arizona shopping because they're still devastated by the trauma placed upon them by all of the social media and the TV media, the news media, liberally generated. This is how all of this happened. Before we get to the 4 months, this is how all of this started. Liberally educated children. We have a mother and we have a father. They both go out to work because they want to better their lives. Whether you agree with that monetary viewpoints, if you agree with that or not, that's what's happened. Parents, mother, father, both out to work. They come home, they're tired, they don't talk to their child. Their child, remember, has been in liberal education all day long. Liberally directed, liberally delivered education to them and who else? The other classmates. You have a whole class of liberally educated students. They come home at night, their parents are still tired from both of them working. What do they do to their child? They give them a PlayStation to keep them quiet and complacent while they're relaxing. Or what they do is they cannot discipline their child, as a lot of children need discipline, which included me, by the way. What did they do to discipline their child? Because they can't, remember, they can't spank them anymore. What do they do to discipline their child? They give them that same PlayStation that they gave them to be complacent away from them so they could relax. They also gave them that same PlayStation to discipline them. They gave them that to make them feel the love of the family. That was the realm of discipline, was the PlayStation. What happens is when they're tired of the PlayStation, they call their friends. Their friends, remember, they're all peers. They're all liberally educated. They're liberally consumed by the robotics of what socialism has been for decades. This is exactly what happened after that. The election, Trump won. Liberals were devastated. We saw on TV, we saw the tears, we saw the crying. I don't believe it was tears of sadness. I believe it was tears of shock. You know, when you have a family member that dies, some people cry because they're greatly saddened. Some people die because of the shock of losing that family member, depending on how quickly it happened or whatever happened. They're in shock and they're tears of shock. I believe liberal media, you saw the newscasters, you saw the people that they were projecting on the screen to you, you saw the tears of crying. This is exactly what happened. Liberals were in shock that the decades that they spent teaching those students the liberal education that they projected upon them, the amount of years, the decades, the billions of dollars spent on that liberal education to turn them into compliant, complacent, focused liberals dedicated to the agenda. Here's exactly what happened when Trump won. The shock of it all, the mindless shock that they lost upon spending decades and billions of dollars educating liberals. They were stunned. They had to scramble for a solution. What was the solution? The solution was hand-delivered to them in the form of COVID. COVID-19 was their trump card. Let's call it that. It was their trump card. COVID-19 came on the scene. What did they do? They knew that they had decades of liberal agenda in the minds of these individuals who somehow lost focus, somehow drifted. They were shocked that they were able to drift and lose that seed of liberalism in them, ingrained in them through decades and billions of dollars of liberal education. They were stunned. They saw COVID as an opportunity to keep you locked in your home, focused on what? Focused on social media controlled by liberals, focused on television news broadcasts manipulated and controlled by social liberal agenda with their focused description of today's events projected upon the screen of your mind to be the social agenda to reignite your pilot light that somehow was minimalized or dissipated so that it went out. They saw COVID as an opportunity to reignite that pilot light every single day that you watch TV, and you had no other opportunity to do anything else with the lockdown but to watch TV, watch the media, liberal media, or the socialized liberal agenda of Facebook and YouTube, of all your peers, all liberally focused on the liberal agenda, all being woken up, all with reignited pilot lights on a daily basis of a barrage of the liberal agenda. You were manipulated to waking up that spark until it propelled into a blossom of the fire of the agenda of liberalism. It was reignited and it was intensified on a daily basis. And finally, when we had the freedoms to leave our homes, we experienced the person with the dreaded mask. Who was that person? Who do we know is the people that wear a mask? They are usually the criminals. They are the people that steal our identities, shielded by the mask of social media, social web broadcast, which is the shield between you and the electronic technology, which is the reason why a lot of senior citizens stay away from this, and why senior citizens cannot use this device when they're shopping for their essentials like groceries. They steer away from this because of the fear of the mask of stealing of identities and crime on the web. Yet we see that individual out there with a mask, that person who's always been viewed upon as a criminal, of someone to fear. We see that person, what do we think of? We think of two things. We think of one thing of staying away from them as far as possible. How do we do that? The second way we do it is we get back into our homes, fearful of talking to that person, to getting maybe a unique perspective from maybe someone who still has not been cultivated or manipulated or brainwashed into the liberal agenda. We might meet that one conservative person that we could talk to, but we can't talk to him because he's got a mask on, and we're fearful of that association. So we go back into our homes, locked away in fear of devastation, where what do? We turn that TV back on. We see the news media with their socialized agenda, their socialist agenda, their liberal agenda, and even the commercial between news broadcasts. Did you notice? They're all liberally driven commercials. We're sorry for your lockdown. We're here to support you. We're here to support you in your lockdown fear of breathing in the air that has kept you alive for all of these decades. We're with you. We've got your back. We're with you in your socialized, socialist agenda of being bombarded by the news broadcast before this commercial and to be broadcast after this commercial. It's a continuation of broadcast, including the commercials between the broadcasts, to make you liberally reignited with the spark of liberalism that was somehow lost but refocused upon based upon the COVID-19 opportunistic opportunities used by liberals. That's what took place. And they did it. They were successful. They manipulated you. They manipulated your reignition of your socialist perspective that is always been within you. Shockingly, you lost focus of it. But this 4 months has brought it back into clear focus. It's shocking. It is devastating. Think of it from another perspective. I've told you guys, but a lot of my audience that's listening on KFNX has not heard this. This is exactly the way this is the way people were educated before liberal education doused them with a level of stupidity that they have been so familiar with that they have become that negative, non-thinking individual, easily manipulated and fully manipulated. This is how people focused upon thinking as an individual not that long ago. I mentioned my parents are 80 and 87. I asked them about myself potentially my child at the age that would be 41 years old, and potentially my child that would be 21 years old. I asked them what they thought about the close down of the economy around the entire world to protect who? The seniors, the population most vulnerable to this disease, which, by the way, has killed in Arizona 2,500 people out of a total Arizona population of 7+ million people, which is a percentage of 0.034% of the Arizona population has died of COVID-19. The overwhelming amount that have died have pre-existing conditions, folks. All right. So I asked my parents what they thought of the close down of the economy, financially devastating their children, their grandchildren, and their great-grandchildren. I asked my parents this specifically. They told me that they feel completely disenfranchised and disrespected by the people around them. If you think of it this way, and I've told you guys before, my KFNX audience will learn this now probably afresh. This is what they said. They said they did not give the authorization for the government to shut down things around them. They are logical individuals. They can think. They can rationalize. They can make logical health decisions on their own, protect themselves on their own without Dave Darren, their child, having to protect them. In fact, they are so proud as productive people that have earned wealth, earned success, earned their own individual independence through a lot of them being veterans of wars. So they fought for the freedoms of this country, yet we have disrespected them and told them, you cannot think for yourselves, we have to think for you. My parents said, and these words they used, how dare you say that we are incapable? How dare you disrespect us by telling us that we need to have you around us, every single one of you, protect us, when we are the ones that raised you. We are the ones that had you as children. We are the ones that had respected you as our children, educated you as our children, and now you're telling us that we do not have the individual responsibility, individual logic, individual abilities to protect ourselves without having you tell us that you are incapable. They were humiliated. They were irritated. They feel frustrated to beyond conversation. And I'm giving you their conversation in the words of tonight's broadcast, which will be on KFNX 1100 AM. And by the way, they have a streaming service. So by the way, if you guys are listening to this show from anywhere in the United States, you will be able to listen to the broadcast on that radio dial from your homes, just as you listen to me now. No change at all. We need to get this agenda out there. We need to bring America back again. We need to change it from the USSA, I've said this before, United Socialist States of America. We need to get rid of that extra S and bring it back together, the U, the S, and the A, and get rid of that extra S because it is a piece of, it is an S. I'm trying to clear up tonight's show because I'm going to be monitored by the FCC as we start getting into terrestrial broadcast. We need to bring the United States of America back to what we remember it to be, the proud, independent country that it used to be. Isn't it shocking to you that over the last 4 months, we have lost so many of our freedoms, that our Vietnam vets and our vets of every war of the Korean War, my father was a Vietnam vet from the Korean War, if you can believe that. Well, you can believe it because I told you his age. Can you believe that we have taken America's freedoms away over these last 4 months, yet, and we've given them away in total and complete silence, yet on the 4th of July, a few short weeks ago, we loudly celebrated what America was, past tense was. America was the place the world looked at as the most free country in the world. The leaders of freedom, the leaders of independence. We have a day called Independence Day. We put the word in there as an independent country. We are independent. We celebrate Independence Day. What did we celebrate it for this year? When we lost our freedoms, we lost our independence, we lost them in total silence, yet on the 4th of July, we loudly celebrated what? What did we celebrate? The loss of our freedoms? It seems to me like we proudly celebrated the loss of the freedoms that we had a very short 4 months ago. 4 months ago, we have devastated this country. We have taken the respect that our veterans have died for. Can you imagine what we've done? Our veterans who have fought for our country, given their lives to give us the freedoms that we so eagerly gave away to the liberals who have willingly, aggressively taken away. Isn't that devastating to you guys that listen to this show? It's devastating to me. It's devastatingly important that we get this message out. And this message is going to be delivered to you on terrestrial radio. And why is that? I started on terrestrial radio. I left terrestrial radio. Terrestrial radio is the home of talk radio, specifically on AM. FM is obviously music. AM is talk radio. You hear all the programs that you hear as spectators. You listen to Rush Limbaugh. You listen to Sean Hannity. You listen to Michael Savage if you like the more aggressive approach, which I happen to like. You listen to all of these broadcasts as spectators. Wouldn't it be remarkable to not only listen to these broadcasts, but have a radio personality who wants to hear from you, who wants to hear why you have been silent for so long, and now it is the time to no longer be silent because you have a radio personality who is bringing up the state of Arizona from its base of pure conservatism that has now been silenced, and it's been silent for a long time. But the people are still here. They just need, as the liberals needed to ignite that spark, bring that pilot light to bring it to a fiery blaze of liberalism. We need to bring from Arizona and from the smaller radio personalities like me to fight along with Rush Limbaugh, to fight along with Sean Hannity, to bring back that foundation of stability, that foundation of what America used to be and can be again if we bring it up from a grassroots effort, which is the foundations of shows like this one that you have been experiencing for a long period of time, that now needs to get out to the masses to bring back a mass acceleration of conservative America, which needs to be brought back into the spotlight so that we can live again, so we can literally breathe again. Now, for my KFNX newly found people who have found this station in Arizona and across the country, let me bring you some of the statistics that some of you are going to be bored at because you hear about this. Arizona, which is where I'm going to be broadcasting the foundations of the Dave Darren terrestrial radio show on KFNX 1100 AM. Arizona, specifically Arizona today, not yesterday, not last week. The amount of people that have died of COVID-19, 2,500 people. Some people are going to say that each individual person needs to be respected. Dave, 2,500 have died. Every single one of them is important. But consider this, every single one of those people that have lost their jobs, millions of them have lost their jobs. Millions of those people have family members who are devastated because of the lack of family financial security that was once upon them as America was open. Now it's closed down. Those, each individual, one by one, have been devastated to the tune of millions. We're talking about Arizona specifically tonight. 2,500 have died. That's 2,500 each individual. 1, 2, 3, up to 2,500. Take that population of the entire United States with a massive unemployment, a massive amount of family destruction by the cure being worse than the virus. Remember, Trump said at the beginning of this, before he was bombarded upon this COVID-19 hostility intensified on a daily basis by liberals, remember Trump said the cure cannot be worse than the virus. The cure now is by far worse than the virus in the statistics that I gave you, which I'm going to repeat again. These are the statistics. Remember, millions of people have lost their jobs. Millions of people may never get those jobs back again. Millions of people's families have been traumatized, devastated. Millions of businesses have closed. Take the much smaller population of people that have died in Arizona, 2,500 people out of an Arizona population of 7+ million people that live here. Do the mathematics. It is 0.034% of the Arizona population has perished from COVID-19. And don't forget this, and do not forget this, the majority of them had pre-existing conditions, making them vulnerable to COVID-19, to the flu, to a potentially bad cold, which might have made them perish, even if they never had COVID-19. They were vulnerable to anything, including COVID, because they had those pre-existing conditions, and the number of people that have died of COVID-19 includes the overwhelming majority of the population with pre-existing conditions. Don't forget that. There's also another factor in this. I have a friend who actually services us with our health insurance. She is a licensed health provider. She provides health insurance. For any of you who do not know this, here's something that you might learn on the Dave Darren Show and the Dave Darren Terrestrial Radio Show on KYW. KYW is a Philadelphia news station. KFNX, 1100 AM, Phoenix, Arizona. The new launch of the Dave Darren Conservative Show. Here's something that you may not realize. Health professional, friend of mine, services us with health. She said, Dave, you may not know this, or you may have heard it and forgotten about it. COVID-19, anyone that has COVID-19 who goes in for service for maybe a respiratory ailment or something else, but has then been diagnosed with COVID-19. Do you guys know this? COVID-19 person in a hospital or getting any medical service will be fully reimbursed for their, what do they call that? I can't think of the words right now. Mental block. It's getting later. It's a mental block right now. They are copay and deductible. There we go. Copay and deductible are fully paid by the insurance company. It's a mandate, a presidential mandate, that COVID-19 people that are diagnosed with it but being serviced for something else, that something else has to be fully paid for. Copay and deductible. Fully paid for. No out of pocket by the person. A lot of people have high copays. To keep their premiums down, they have high copays. They pay a high copay, take that gambling risk that they'll be healthy and won't need to pay that copay, that high copay or deductible. This is what happens. They are COVID patients that have been diagnosed with it, no matter what they're in there for. The checkbox that hospitals put in there, they put COVID. You know why they do that? So that they're fully reimbursed by the insurance companies that are mandated to pay 100% without going to the patient for copay or deductible. The hospitals and the doctors will collect fully because that checkbox is marked COVID. Check it again, COVID, 100% payment. 100% payment. No question whatsoever, the insurance companies must pay that. Did you guys know that? Were you aware of that? Therefore, can we trust the numbers of COVID? Just recently, was it Florida? I'm pretty sure it was Florida. Someone found out that Florida hospital, they did a survey. Family Feud, Richard Dawson. survey of Florida hospital. They found that there was a shocking number of COVID positive patients. And what did they do? They flagged everyone as positive. They did not even report of the people that were tested and came out negative. They didn't even report that. They only reported the positive cases in Florida. So when you see these numbers, or when you see the effectiveness of the mask, put it in question, because it's a huge question. There's some governors, the governor of Georgia, I believe, said that the mask mandate will not be carried on in Florida. They are remaining independent. They are giving their people in that state the freedoms that they have enjoyed for a long period of time. Again, they've given the freedoms that if you feel you need to wear a mask, you as a free American living in Georgia, the state of Georgia, will be able to wear a mask. We're not taking their freedoms away. We're not taking away the freedoms of people to walk around without masks. Yet a lot of states, Arizona, a very conservative state, has a governor who is allowing and mandating masks. And we have businesses in Arizona that are bypassing the governor's exclusion of people with health conditions, breathing conditions, etc. These states' companies are able to mandate that you and me and senior citizens must wear a mask, will not be able to shop for the essential needs of food to feed ourselves to keep us healthy. It is traumatic, it's devastating, it is shocking, and we have so far let it get out of hand. The Dave Darren Show is a show that is going to bring it back into our hands, into our hearts of freedom, starting in Arizona, starting with you patronizing the show, supporting the show by your listenership. That's all I got for tonight. What did you think of tonight's show? Share tonight's show. If you are a proud American, if you are a proud person who enjoyed your freedoms but can no longer enjoy the freedoms that you earned, you're not entitled to them. Are you aware that the veterans in this country have given you the freedoms based upon them earning your freedoms by the death of them in wars? Are you clearly aware that the freedoms that you have given away were fought for by the blood and the deaths of the people that have died to give you the freedoms that you are so willingly and silently surrendering to the liberal agenda that has turned the United States of America into the United Socialist States of America? Enjoy this program, but more importantly, share this program. Get the word out there that it's going to be a terrestrial radio broadcast on KFNX, Phoenix, Arizona, 1100 AM on your dial. Check it out, enjoy it, visit it, relish in the freedoms that I want to bring back into your lives, into your family's lives, into your homes, into your state, into this country. Thanks for joining the show. Enjoy future shows that are going to be airing this weekend and on KFNX. Cheers, guys.
Sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.